Well, hello there, Stacey Murphy here, and this is the time of year that so many people are making goals for the year. Specifically here, we're making goals for our garden, for how we're going to measure if we're successful or not during the year. So I wanted to share my one tip to help you have success with your garden goal planning for this year, all right? So let me ask you this question. Have you ever set a goal that was really big, you thought it was manageable, but it was big, and then the year goes by and you didn't meet that goal, and then you feel a bit like a failure in the garden? Has that ever happened to you? Well, that's happened to me, and I think it's happened to pretty much everybody who's ever grown food, so you're totally normal. And then on the other end of the spectrum, let me ask you this. Have you ever set a goal for yourself that was so easily achieved that you thought afterwards, you're like, man, I should have stretched farther. I could have done so much more. And so yes, I have done that, and so have lots of other people. We're human. We tend to do one of two things. We tend to overshoot our dreams and try to shoot for the moon and make it so impossible to reach it. And that's what pulls us forward. That's the psychology of pulling us forward. And on the other hand, we tend to play small because we want success. So we want to identify a goal that's very easy to attain so that we can feel successful and set the next goal. And we're human. So we want, that's like the carrot that keeps dangling in front of us that we keep moving forward because we keep achieving those mini goals. So the key is to have a series of mini goals that reach up into a larger goal for yourself. So that's one hint to keep you moving forward throughout the year. And one of the ways that I do this, I'm going to tell you my secret here, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the examples. So my secret that I use to reach my garden goals for the year is that I set aside time once a week. I set aside 30 minutes to do my gardening or my goal setting for my garden or tackle a project in the garden. I set aside 30 minutes each week, and before that time, I have the list of things that need to be done next in the garden, and so I know exactly what I'm going to do in those 30 minutes. Sometimes what I'm doing in that 30 minutes is I'm researching something. Sometimes I'm actually building something. Sometimes I'm actually doing the physical growing, right? So setting aside weekly chunks of time that you can identify what's going on in your garden and what you want to do next. This is why I created Harvest Club. This is a place where we share weekly resources. We have Q&A calls twice a month. And one of the reasons why I designed Harvest Club is I know that when people take weekly action, that those are the people that have success. And it's because of the psychology of when you achieve something each week, it pulls you forward to the next thing that you're going to do. And guess what? By the end of the year, you've reached some big giant goal that you've had. So here's an example. This year, my goals were really simple. I wanted to grow all of my greens so that, and winter, summer, spring, fall, any time of the year, when I wanted to cook and have greens on my meal, on my plate, I had them. And I did that. That was excellent. I achieved it. And guess what? I have the background to know that I can do that. So that's like a cakewalk for me. For you, that might not be a cakewalk. So if that was your goal and you were just getting started as a beginner, then you might need some micro goals along the way. You might need to set a goal of building the garden. You might need to set a goal of what type of garden are you going to build, an indoor or an outdoor garden. You might need to learn about indoor gardening if you're somewhere where there's winter temperatures that are too cold to grow outside. You might need to learn a strategy to grow in the cold weather, whether that's indoors or season extension. And all of these are little micro goals that help you achieve the bigger goal of having fresh greens on your table whenever you want them. All right? So the key here, my one tip here is set aside 30 minutes each week. If this is something that is important to you, and I assume that it is, you're watching this video, so what I know about you is that your health and vitality is important to you, that your connection to the earth is important to you, that fresh food, that you know where it came from when it's organic, is important to you. So if those are the things that are important to you, then prioritize it. Set 30 minutes in your calendar at least once a week. You might even choose to do more time than that, depending on whatever your goals are. But the key is set aside a time in your schedule, and it's like you don't break that time. You don't say, no, I don't feel like it this week. You do it. You do it every week, all right? And I set it in my calendar and it doesn't move. It's the same day every week and it's the same time every week. All right. So the thing that to remember here is that we want to be nice to ourselves. That's how goals work best. So if a goal is really big and it feels like impossible to reach, guess what? You're going to give up. So you don't want to do that to yourself. Be nice to yourself. Set a big goal that pulls you forward, where your heart is like, yes, I want to go do that, because that's what's going to generate action each week. If the goal, if you need little wins in order to feel good about yourself, and we all need little wins, make them super easy. So basically, some of my super simple little wins that I like in the garden is just going and meditating in the garden. That's easy enough to do. I can just walk outside, sit down for 1 or 2 minutes, and it's an easy win. I feel good about the day. So little tiny wins, even harvesting an herb for my meal. That's a simple win that you could accomplish pretty easily by planting an herb and simply cutting a little bit each week. So little tiny wins can make you feel really good about your garden, and it doesn't feel overwhelming, especially during that peak season when everything seems to go crazy, right? So the idea here, again, I'm just going to wrap this up by saying it one more way. So your priorities in life are what's in your calendar. Time is our most precious commodity, right? So when you schedule 30 minutes or however many minutes each week to spend on your garden, guess what? Even if it's cold outside, you do this, because guess what? As the season is approaching, let's say it's winter where you are and it's cold, you want to be planning right now. You want to be looking back at the past year, seeing what worked, what didn't. You want to take those lessons from last year and apply them to this year. So right now is your time to be planning for your success. And what can happen if you don't set aside a couple minutes each week now until the growing season is that all of a sudden the growing season is here and then you have nothing ready to go. And then it feels like you're always behind. So prioritize what's important: your health, your well-being, fresh food on your plate, organic food on your plate, knowing exactly where it's coming from. Prioritize it. Set 30 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever feels right to you every week, no matter what temperature it is outside, to figure out what your next goal is and how you're going to achieve it, what your next step is to get there, all right? So that's the important thing that I wanted to share with you today. And the second very important thing that I wanted to share with you is be nice to yourself. So our gardens, they can be sources of, so many things going not according to plan. So be nice with yourself. So a goal is only there to help pull you forward. If you don't achieve it, it doesn't mean that your garden failed at all. It just means that you're learning new things, and there's always going to be something to stretch into, all right? So celebrate all those wins. Celebrate when you do reach a little micro goal. Celebrate when things go wrong and you learned a lesson. You either win by winning your goal or you learn a lesson, and that's a win too. All right, so be nice to yourself, and that's going to help pull you forward all throughout the year. And soon you're going to reach some of those really big goals when you carve out these little incremental steps and you tackle them a little bit at a time each week. And if you're interested in Harvest Club, there is a link below this video where you can check it out. That's where we do our weekly resources, and we have monthly live Q&A calls so that it can help you move forward week by week. All right, so in the comments below, what I would love to know is, what's your #1 goal for 2019 for your garden, or I should say for this year, because you could be watching this video at any moment. So what's your #1 garden goal for this year? Dream really big. And then what's your #1 action step, little micro thing that can help you attain that goal? All right, love you guys. Take care.